here to have a little talk with you about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. And I call this the NDAA for Dummies because we are acting like dummies. I mean, the people of the United States, especially our senators and congressmen. We are letting something slip by us that is incredibly, incredibly important that we need to know about. Now, what have you heard about the NDAA? Probably some confusing information about whether the NDAA authorizes indefinite detention for American citizens. And this is the main point that everybody's talking about. Now, this is Politics 101, how to slip something very important by the American people. First of all, let's put in a great, big, important bill, the Defense Authorization Act, 5,000 pages long. Nobody's going to vote against defense, are they? Second, let's make it as confusing as possible so that no one will know what it means. Now, why in the world would any senator or congressman vote for a bill that they don't understand? But this is exactly what happens. Some of them understood it very well, but many of them do not. Imagine now, you're in the Senate, you're sitting around talking to your good old buddies. Here's John McCain, here's Orrin Hatch, here's Harry Reid, President of the Senate. We're having a little talk and we're saying, hey, does this NDAA authorize the indefinite detention without trial of American citizens? And Warren says, well, I'm not sure. I don't know if that's what it means or not. And Jack says, oh, I'm not sure either. And then somebody comes up with a brilliant idea. Hey, Mr. President of the Senate, Mr. Harry Reid, why don't we put something in the NDAA that clarifies this? It says this in the plainest possible language. American citizens are not subject to this. They are not subject to being detained without a trial for an indefinite period of time. This will not apply to them. And Harry Reid scratches his head a little bit and says, well, yeah, but that was in the bill, and we took it out. Oh, really? It was in the original bill, and we took it out? Why? Well, President Obama asked us to take it out. Okay, President Obama wanted it out, but we're the Congress. We don't have to do everything that President Obama says. Why don't we put it back in? Let me read to you exactly what this says. It says, the authority to detain a person under this section does not extend to the detention of citizens or lawful resident aliens of the United States on the basis of conduct taking place in the United States, except to the extent permitted by the Constitution of the United States. So it does not extend to the detention of citizens or lawful resident aliens of the United States on the basis of conduct taking place in the United States. It's fairly clear and straightforward. Nice, one sentence, and it would clarify the whole thing. So, Senator Feinstein and Senator Lee, they offered an amendment to put this back in the NDAA. It was defeated by a margin of 45 to 55. Well, you know, that's reasonably close. Switch of 6 votes would have put that exemption in there. But we didn't get the 6 votes. 55 of our senators voted to exclude this. You'd have to say that they wanted this to apply to citizens of the United States. Why else would they have voted? There's no possibility of misunderstanding here. They're voting on one sentence. They all had a chance to read and to be very clear in their minds exactly what's going on. So, who was it who wants this applied to American citizens? Obviously, President Obama does. He's the one asked specifically that be taken out. Now, President Obama, unfortunately, is talking out of both sides of his mouth on the NDAA. He asked that that be taken out, but he also said in his signing statement, he says, quote, "I have signed this bill despite having serious reservations with certain provisions that regulate the detention, interrogation, and prosecution of suspected terrorists. I want to clarify that my administration will not authorize the indefinite military detention without trial of American citizens. Indeed, I believe that doing so would break with our most important traditions and values as a nation. My administration will interpret Section 1021 of the bill in a manner that ensures that any detention it authorizes complies with the Constitution, the laws of war, and all other applicable laws." Sounds very nice. He says he has the authority. It is very clear to him that the NDAA gives him the authority of indefinite detention of American citizens, but he chooses not to exercise it. Then why in the world did he have that exemption of American citizens taken out of the bill? That makes absolutely no sense at all. He is talking out of both sides of his mouth. But he says, trust me, I will never use it. Fortunately, candidate Romney said, oh, I trust Obama in this case. I don't. What kind of person is President Obama? Well, he's quite different than the person who ran as an anti-war candidate, one who was against torturing people, one who wanted to close down Guantanamo Bay, one who wanted to get our troops out of Iraq and Afghanistan as quickly as possible. Something extremely interesting going on in the White House, and there was a security leak that got a lot of publicity, but most people think that Obama himself leaked this because he wants a macho image. He thinks it will help him in the campaign. This is why the brave, powerful, strong Obama killed and shot Osama bin Laden. He takes full credit for that because this helps his macho image. Well, what happens is this. Every week or so, more than 100 members of the government's sprawling national security apparatus gathered by secure video teleconference to pore over terrorist suspects' biographies and recommend to the president who should be the next to die. These people die by drones. You're familiar with drones? Flying aircraft with no pilots who have bombs, and they fly over people's houses and drop bombs on them and kill them. The secret nominations process is an invention of the Obama administration, a grim debating society that vets the PowerPoint slides bearing the names, aliases, and life stories of suspected members of Al-Qaeda's branch in Yemen or its allies in Somalia's militia. Video conferences are run by the Pentagon, which oversees strikes in those countries, and participants do not hesitate to call out a challenge, pressing for the evidence behind accusations of ties to Al-Qaeda. What is a Qaeda facilitator? Asked one participant. If I open a gate and you drive to it, excuse me, am I a facilitator? Who knows? If I'm a cook in a camp, am I a facilitator? Well, who makes these decisions? Final decision is always made by Obama. He wants that right, he asks for it, and he has it. So every week he decides, he is judge, he is jury, he is executioner. He decides if these people live or die. And say, okay, well, that's not such a bad thing. These are terrorists in Afghanistan or Yemen. They're not American citizens. But there was one American citizen who was killed by this process, and it happened in Yemen, and President Obama, here again, was judge and jury and executioner. This American citizen had no right to any trial. He was summarily executed at the hand of President Obama. And when this person was supposedly high up in Al-Qaeda, and then one other American citizen was killed with him who happened to be there. And so 2 American citizens were killed in this one drone strike. Which leads to an interesting point. Our government will tell you that we hardly ever kill innocent civilians when we drop bombs on terrorists in any of these countries. You know why? Because there's an Orwellian definition, which is so George Orwell, 1984. If you drop a bomb on a house, and there's one person in there that you're pretty sure is a terrorist, and there's 4 others who you don't really know, they are all defined as terrorists. If you associate with a terrorist, you are defined as a terrorist. So if you are in the neighborhood of a bomb that kills a terrorist, you are a terrorist. Therefore, we can tell the world, we only kill terrorists because we've defined them all as terrorists. So now we see a lot more about what type of person Obama is, who takes pleasure, delight in choosing who to kill with the drones. Now, what about others? Should we blame the whole thing on Obama? Certainly not. Many Republicans vote for the NDAA and have full knowledge of exactly what it means. One of these is Lindsey Graham, a Republican senator. Does he want our American citizens indefinitely detained in the United States without a trial? Definitely yes. He says it extremely clearly. Here's an exact quote from Lindsey Graham. Is the home field the battlefield? You better believe it's the battlefield. Why would we say that if you're in Afghanistan, we can blow you up and put you in jail forever? But if you can make it to America, you're home free. You can't be interrogated by our military or CIA. You get a lawyer, and that's the end of the discussion. That's what you would be doing. That's crazy. It is not unfair to hold American citizens as long as it takes to find intelligence. When they say, I want my lawyer, you tell them, shut up. You don't get a lawyer. You're an enemy combatant. Well, Lindsey Graham at least is very clear. He doesn't beat around the bush. So who decides if you're an enemy combatant? Well, President Obama decides that. There's no trial, no procedure. It's okay, you're an enemy combatant. You don't have any rights. Now, here's a quote from the Republican candidate for president in 2008, John McCain. Quote, I don't want to be in the first Congress in the times in which we live to change the law to deny our intelligence community and the Department of Defense the ability to deal with American citizens who have decided on their own to become part of Al-Qaeda. The day one decides they are going to side with Al-Qaeda, they have committed an act of war against the rest of us. The courts acknowledge they can be held as an enemy combatant, not a common criminal. Okay, but Senator McCain is not telling the whole story about all that's in the bill. He's talking about U.S. citizens being held as enemy combatants. Here again, Obama decides that. But there's more in the bill. He says in the bill, it's not just supporters of Al-Qaeda, but also anyone who had substantially supported Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, or associated forces, including any person who has committed a belligerent act. All these people can be declared terrorists and held without a trial indefinitely. Well, what does it mean to substantially support Al-Qaeda? If you give money to charity and unknown to you, the charity gives money to Al-Qaeda, are you then a terrorist? The Taliban? If you say something positive about Taliban on Facebook, are you a terrorist? What about a belligerent act? What the heck is a belligerent act? Commit a belligerent act, you can be defined as a terrorist. Does that mean something on Facebook criticizing the President of the United States? Nobody knows. It's deliberately vague. So they can use any criteria they want, declare anyone they want a terrorist and hold them indefinitely. And the next part would be, if we're to treat United States citizens in the United States just like terrorists in Yemen? Obviously, nothing is clearer than the next step is we can kill them without a trial. That's what we do to terrorists in Yemen. We can put them on a list and kill them. That sounds pretty scary to me. All of this is part of an integrated plan to take away our freedom. There are many, many pieces to this puzzle. This is just one very important, but only one piece. Do you know the Department of Homeland Security, formed as a response to 9/11, has grown to have over 200,000 employees? It is an army in the United States totally under control of the administrative branch, totally under control of the president. Guess what they very recently ordered? They ordered 1.2 billion, you heard that right, not million, not thousand, 1.2 billion hollow tip bullets. Hollow tip bullets are meant to kill because they sort of explode, they fragment when they hit a body, and they just literally rip it to shreds. Now, this is not tear gas. This is not tasers. This is not rubber bullets. These are bullets designed to kill. 1.2 billion of it. They say they need it for training. They can get different kinds of bullets to train with. But these are hollow point bullets. This is as much ammunition as would be used in 10 years of the Iraq War. President Obama also signed a bill which makes it against the law to demonstrate in the White House or to demonstrate if there are Secret Service agents around, even if you don't know they're around. This is House Bill 347. Look it up yourself. So basically, he's made it illegal to demonstrate against him because Secret Service are always around when he is there, also for many other people. So now we can say the president can now detain you for getting too close to his front yard, the White House, order your assassination if the country considers you a threat, and lock you away for life with no charge if you're alleged to be a terrorist. You, on the other hand, can't yell obscenities at Newt Gingrich or anyone else where the Secret Service are without risking arrest. Now, let me summarize. There are many who want all of the USA to be declared a war zone and to have the United States citizens treated the same as terrorists in Afghanistan or Yemen or many other countries. The language that exempted the United States citizens from the NDAA was removed at the request of President Obama, and when Senators Feinstein and Lee tried to put it back in, it was narrowly voted down. Republican Senators Lindsey Graham, Orrin Hatch, and the last Republican nominee, Senator McCain, led this blatant attack on the Bill of Rights. So President Obama, in his signing statement, told the whole world that he now had the authority for indefinite military detention of U.S. citizens, but he would not use it, even though he's the one that requested it. All this is, of course, totally unconstitutional, some will say, but it might take years for this final Supreme Court ruling. The lower court has already ruled against it, but it will be appealed and appealed and appealed. If U.S. citizens in the USA are to be treated like terrorists in Afghanistan, then the next logical step is to kill them with drones without any trial, with President Obama deciding who will be killed. This has already been done in Yemen. Now, it won't do any good if you're dead if the Supreme Court years later rules that was unconstitutional, kill them. It's not going to bring you back. Now, it's not too late to stop this. Unfortunately, both candidates, presidential candidates, have declared their support of NDAA, but it doesn't matter. They don't vote on it. It is Congress that votes on it. It was defeated by a 45 to 55 margin, so we only need six more votes to switch, and this can be defeated. Elections are coming up. Please ask all candidates where they stand on the NDAA and vote accordingly. Jobs will not matter if we live in a dictatorship. This election is not about jobs. This election is about freedom, and we have to fight for our freedom again, just as we did originally. And right now we can do it peaceably through the ballot box. If that fails,